Bismillah walhamdulillah wassalatu wassalam ala rasulillah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, everyone. I hope you're all doing well, Inshā'Allāh. I just wanted to put out a little bit of a disclaimer. This video will contain mention of Andrew Tate. I know, it's a lot. It's like a relentless stream of reactions to his recent reversion. However, so much stuff has came out of that. Me and Sister Summer felt like we needed to have a conversation about it, Inshā'Allāh. So even though this video is going to mention Andrew Tate, it's not about Andrew Tate. It's about the sisters, Inshā'Allāh. But please keep in mind that me and Sister Summer are not shaykhas. Anything we say that is a mistake or is wrong is from us and our limitations as human beings. And anything we say that is good is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That being said, may Allah make this conversation beneficial. Ameen. Bismillah walhamdulillah wassalatu wassalam ala rasulillah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
How are you, sis?
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah, good to you.
Alhamdulillah. Tired, but I'm good. Alhamdulillah, glad to be here. Well, I take that back. It's always a pleasure talking to yourself, but definitely not glad to be making this video, if I'm completely honest.
Definitely. Yeah, I feel the same, to be honest. That, you know me, I'm not interested in hype stuff, so yeah, like that's the kind of thing that I just avoid, but yeah.
It feels necessary, doesn't it? Because of how viral it's going. We always try and attempt to be, I don't know if we do it justice, but we always try to attempt to be the bargain. So that's why we're here, Inshā'Allāh. May Allah make it beneficial and may we do that justice. I mean, okay, so if Andrew Tate tries to become Muslim or parades himself around as Muslim and gets accepted, I'm leaving Islam. Wallahi, I'll abandon Islam and this dunya altogether. Muslims are honestly the most mentally ill, subservient idiots on earth.
It's a ridiculous statement, isn't it?
Mm.
It's sad more than anything else because, you know, our Islam, our submission to our creator shouldn't have anything to do with anybody else. Another human being that I can't stand, okay, for whatever reason, if they become Muslim, why should I be affected by that person's Islam? Do you know what I mean? Why should that person's Islam then affect me in my practice? We're both reverts, okay? And I'm sure you have your experience with Muslims and I've got experiences with Muslims. That subhanAllah, if it was down to people's behavior and how people treat us, some of the treatment that we've had from Muslims, we would have already left Islam if that was the condition of being Muslim.
Yeah, I want to be considerate. So the first thing that this meme, or it's a meme now, but it was a tweet, obviously. I think the first thing it's apparent that this is a statement of ignorance. You know, I don't want to insult the sister, but this indicates a lack of knowledge for sure. And I say this with respect, but just having the bravery to sort of say, you know, I'm going to leave Islam out of, you know, the ridiculousness of people, like you said, or this situation. You know, this is where humility is such a important characteristic to have, because throughout life, things are going to happen that we don't always like or appreciate. You know, as a human being, as a Muslim, there's many people who have rights over us. Many, whether you're male, female, kids, elderly, whatever. Sometimes that means, you know, holding your tongue. Another thing that this indicates is that for someone to be so passionately against someone, like, it shows me that you've listened to a lot of what they've said, spent time watching them. And we do this to a degree, especially if we are like on social media, we keep an eye on what's going on around us. But I'm a definite believer in doing so as long as it's not at the expense of your own sanity and your own, you know, mental well-being. Listen, when it comes to the fears in terms of the influence that Andrew Tate has in the community, I totally get that. And in fact, before his reversion, brothers got that as well. Like the genders are not completely different in this situation. Obviously, we do have an issue within the community in regards to red pill Muslims and feminist Muslims. That wasn't going to disappear whether Andrew Tate reverts or not.
Exactly.
So like as a community, we share this problem. So I get the fears, but at the same time, you know, we are Muslims. We should be humble, especially when it comes to someone reverting. We shouldn't just jump on the bandwagon. We shouldn't just go into a state of panic. You know, Allah is our protector. I don't know. I feel like the brothers are being underestimated here. Like if we step outside the red pill Muslims, there's no way that the brothers are going to allow Andrew Tate to continue the sort of narrative. Obviously, Andrew Tate himself will need time to develop his mindset. And that's because the knowledge isn't there. I'm not saying that means that we drop all guards. Again, we are Muslims.
Okay, so he's somebody that we know from his past, you know, because he's obviously been on social media and he's well known. He's got this very, like, you know, bravado kind of character or whatever. You know, so he just opens his mouth, no filter kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? If, for example, covering and wearing the niqab is something that he doesn't get, because he made the statement about that too. Okay, so now he's
what was the statement he made?
This is something that he's going to have to learn. I don't know. He said something about niqab. It was negative, and that wasn't it wasn't that long ago. Actually, he made that comment. Or something like, you know, we're like living trapped or something like that, or you know, the kind of common misconception, kind of, you know, oppressed kind of. That wasn't that long ago that he mentioned that. A lot of the Muslims in the community came at him for making those statements. So, you know, the brothers themselves in the community who have been watching what's going on with this whole red pill movement, like you said, you know, we can't underestimate our brothers. Yes, a lot of brothers may have shown extreme happiness to the fact that he's become Muslim. Maybe some of those who are that happy about it, maybe they've met him before, maybe they know him personally. Talking to somebody personally on a personal level without cameras, you know, maybe they know something about him or see a side of his character that we don't get to see online. Because when people come online, people have a facade. I'm not making excuses, but the reality is everything that he said, which is negative, all those things he said prior to coming to Islam, all the things that he's done, Allah's already forgiven him for those things. His slate has been wiped clean. So what rights do we have then to keep talking about, oh, but he said this, but he said that, but he said this, but he said that? He hasn't been Muslim for even a week. Even if he is being told to denounce those things, I mean, give the guy time, because the reality is, even if he was going to come out tomorrow and say, do you know what, everything that I said in the past, I'm sorry that I said it, how many women would accept his apology? Because the proof is going to be in the pudding, and the pudding is going to take a long time to bake. Even if they accept his apology, they will not believe him until they see over a period of time that, yes, indeed, this guy has changed. So give him time to change.
Again, this is why I spoke about humility, you know. Obviously, the average Joe doesn't get themselves involved with the businesses that he's involved with. The multitudes, you know, if we were to look at his life, as a Muslim, there's a lot he has to give up, you know, and there's a lot he has to control, and there's a lot he has to maybe not so much apologize for, but take accountability for. His personal business is exposed to the world. And, you know, we are very fortunate as individuals. I'm always very grateful that social media wasn't really a thing before I was Muslim. Like, it was just starting. And I think if everybody's book was open to read, you know, everybody would have a problem with everybody, right?
Exactly.
Again, having that humility and appreciating that fact, because we could all be exposed. We have to leave that with Allah now. We ourselves as individuals need to know our place, you know, and that is, again, to keep our mouth shut in certain conversations, you know. And I really do think that this is an issue that the brothers should be dealing with. I think the outcry of women, like we need to have faith in our leadership, you know, and our leadership isn't the red pill Muslim scene, you know, just like the representation of Muslim women is not the Muslim feminists, you know. The Muslim scene is much more the online sort of English speaking dawah scene. We have more Muslims than that. We have the ulama, we have the ummah in all different countries. Red pill Muslims are a new thing. And, you know, a lot of brothers have been speaking out against it. I share the frustrations to a degree. I get the fear for our young brothers, our sons. I get that. But again, that's where we need to sort of play our part in nurturing them as women. And we need to have faith in our men. If we are feeling overly sort of personally attacked or personally inflicted by the situation that's unfolding, then this is maybe a sign that we need to take a minute We need to take a step back, look at our own iman, our own environments. Is there anything else that's going on?
Definitely. And it's all about education at the end of the day, because, you know, like you said, as women, we shouldn't be wasting our time. Women and men, we shouldn't be wasting our time listening to things that aren't beneficial. We have so many things that we need to learn as it is, as Muslims. So I get sisters messaging me, asking me about this red pill statement here and that. I send them some beneficial channels that they should be watching where they can get a real Islamic education. I say, sisters, don't watch those, spend your time with this. This will keep you more than busy. You wouldn't even have time to look at anything else. You know, stop wasting your time watching these kind of people that make you feel triggered, because they might look like the majority, but they're not. They're a minority. And educated yourself, you'll know what a real man's traits are and what his behaviors are. If we want real men in the community, we want to raise real men as well. So we need to be able to recognize them. That means we need to follow them, tailor your content to people who are beneficial, and they're not going to be talking about things that is going to make you feel like you're going crazy, you know, that it's going to be triggering you, all this kind of, just avoid that stuff. And Andrew Tate, he's a whole different person, which most of us will never even meet in our lives.
Yeah.
So let's just get on with our lives and be Muslim. Like, literally, why would anybody, you know, base their Islam on somebody accepting Islam or not? It's not a club.
Yeah.
Islam isn't a club. Yes, we are an ummah, but this is not a club, like something exclusive, like, oh, I don't like this person, so they can't be in it. No, it's not like that. We don't have to like every Muslim that we know or that we don't know. You know,
yeah.
But every
well, I think that's it. Popularity of Andrew Tate is partially what's causing this, because if he was just a random guy, it's not that we wouldn't have interest. We would be like, congratulations, Mabruk, there's anything you need. But I think because of the popularity and because the reason why he's so popular, I mean, we have to take into consideration that before this reversion, how many Muslim men were coming out and speaking against taking Andrew Tate as an influential character?
Loads of them were speaking against him, a lot of them, and warning people.
Yeah, I think in regards to the sisters, there was a lot of panic. That's how I viewed it. It just seemed like pure panic. Oh my gosh, this guy's now saying he's Muslim and he probably isn't Muslim, but now he's going to come and sort of act as if his narrative is the Muslim narrative, and that's going to make Muslims look bad, and that's going to have a negative influence on our sons, and then our sons are going to, you know, beat our daughters, and then blah, blah, blah. But first of all, like, take a step back and breathe. I feel like this is a brother issue, and that's why I keep putting it to the brothers. But the brothers definitely should be mindful of his past. Mindful. They shouldn't hold it against him. That shouldn't prevent him from his rights as a Muslim. There has to be that recognition for the process, how long that takes, and what sort of support is he getting. If sisters are saying he shouldn't even get that support, well, I mean, that's a mistake, because if he doesn't get that support, he's going to continue down the road that he's on, but saying he's Muslim, you know, so brothers should be stepping in at this point. There should be concern for the influence he has, but it's not that we just say, no, you're not accepted into this community. No, it's that the brothers give the right support so that he gets the right interpretation of the guidance, the right view of women in Islam, that he gets the opportunity to sort of undo what his life has done so far. We have to remember that there are other people from the past, especially in the Prophet ﷺ's time. You know, there was the slave that, you know, killed the Prophet's uncle, radiallahu anhu. He became Muslim. Did the Prophet say, no, you've committed a crime that can't be undone? Did he let his personal feelings get in the way of this brother becoming Muslim? No. Who are we?
Exactly. You know, and this is the thing. For me personally, if he is indeed a sincere person, which I hope that he is, he has a mammoth of a task to do, not just changing himself personally, but his image that he's put out to the world, his whole life, all of it, from the little that I know about his businesses that he has, all of them are haram. So that means that all of his wealth that he has is haram. I don't know the full Islamic rulings on this stuff, but he's already being attacked from women in the Muslim community. Okay, he's going to have to go a long way before he will be accepted, really.
I'll be honest, I recognise, I don't sympathise. Like, he is a grown man who's made grown man decisions. Even from a non-Muslim perspective, I would say that a lot of the businesses that he was in were sort of leaning on more the immoral side, in my opinion. But whether we like it or not, this guy has said his shahada. Like, this is bigger than us, and it's bigger than our emotions and our fears and everything else. Like you said, he is still in that lifestyle. He has a range of businesses that are like hyper haram. So he has a lot to change in order to make him the best version of himself. And I definitely wouldn't want to be in those shoes.
Having the burden of sin on you, even though your sins have been forgiven, this is a burden he will carry. Different from just being this person that's having this bravado and you don't give a damn. You don't care what anybody thinks. When you come to that realization that you've actually really done harm to people, my advice to somebody like him would be to step out of the spotlight, fix your affairs in private. That's what I would do personally. My journey to being a new Muslim, all that stuff, I would not advise that at all. Stay private and just handle his business in private and just do everything like that. Just stay out of the spotlight. He's already been blocked from most of the social media anyway. So leave your past behind you so that you can move forward in a new place from scratch with people who don't know you and are not going to remind you every day of what you was. Because that's always going to have a pull. It's always going to be pulling you back, egging you on, you know?
The last part of that tweet, I find it really hard to say, if I'm completely honest. It is a complete lack of self-awareness. I understand the fear and panic, but I think there's also a way of communicating that fear that it does not compromise yourself, your belief, your morals. I do really want to find a sister, reach out and say, listen, like, don't think that by brothers embracing Andrew Tate is them abandoning you. Even if there was a whole sort of population of Andrew Tates that came out of this. If that is the way that the world is going, if that's the way the Ummah is going, despite our best efforts, nothing happens without the permission of Allah. And if you think that abandoning Islam is going to make your life easier, then, maybe this is where we're lacking in our sisterhood. We need to be maintaining a strong and fearless Muslim character. We're going to be faced with many situations in life. We're going to lose family members. We might lose provisions. We might experience poverty. We might experience a natural disaster. All of them are bigger than Andrew Tate. And we need to have the character and the knowledge and wisdom, the hikmah, to be able to hang on to our deen as close as we can. Our deen is more than people and emotions and experiences. It's everything. It's our eternity, and we need to protect that.
What came to my mind when you was talking, actually, is the reason why it's so important for Muslim women who are practicing to actually show up and have a presence in your community. I don't know if this sister who made this comment is a revert or a born Muslim. I don't have a clue. At the end of the day, Andrew Tate's coming to Islam. He's being embraced by the brothers. When it comes to the women, are we being embraced by the sisters? Attending to those needs of new Muslims or other Muslims who need support. This is something that's really important. And for the sister, I would advise, instead of getting frustrated and making these kind of rash comments online for the public to further criticize you and scrutinize you and make you feel more dejected and more on the outside and more unloved. Reach out to somebody privately so that you can actually get some, somebody can hear you out and, bring some kind of rationale to your thought processes and, work your way through your feelings about this, whatever the situation is. Because it's sad about this last statement is the fact that you're saying that on the day of judgment, you will tell Allah why you've thrown away the gift that he gave you. This is what is sad. Allah, he is full of bounty. He is Al-Kareem. He's the most generous. He's the most merciful. On the day of judgment, you're going to tell him why. Who were you being subservient to then? That's it. Is Tate more important than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala?
What does the Sunnah teach us? The Sunnah says you're not a believer unless you love Allah and his Prophet above everyone else, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You are not a believer unless you want for your brother what you want for yourself. These are crucial and important parts of Iman. If you lack in knowledge and you don't know the Quran and Sunnah, this is where we sort of compromise ourselves. And this sister, unfortunately, has done that in a really visible and now viral way. I do have to say, though, I didn't really like the reaction to the tweet. although expected, because what she said is extreme. I think this is where it comes down to this Twitter mentality. It's just like, I think it's a really toxic platform, and although I have a Twitter account, I rarely sort of post on it. I just sort of use it to keep in the loop of what's going on in the community. But a lot of people were like, well, you plan to leave, so that's it, you've left. But even if that's the case, and I'm not disputing that it isn't, this is still a concern. There's still a duty upon us as an ummah to try and reach out to this sister and reassure her and say, hey, listen, you don't do that. We don't want you to do that. We don't want this for you. What sort of support do you need that you feel you're not getting that has made you, feel this way? Like, we still have a duty upon this sister, just like we have a duty upon, Andrew Tate or any other people that are finding their Muslim journey difficult. Just because one person has their prayers in order or has their deen or Aqidah in order doesn't mean they were always like that. That was a process for them to get their right. So we don't know this sister. We don't know where she is in this process. Why are we not concerned for her and what she's just said? I get why people are speaking against it, because people need to know that this is not the mentality to have. Mm-hmm. But again, how many people reached out to her on a personal level? She still needs the help, So again, I would encourage this sister, if she was ever to see this, which I doubt. But if she was, I would reach out to this sister and say, get in contact. I would love to have a chat with you, because we're all in this together. And, we might be really comfortable right now, Sister Summer, but, life is a long time. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know if our deen is going to be compromised. We don't know if we're going to die Muslim. Inshā'Allāh, may Allah protect us, keep us, guide us, and allow us to pass as Muslims with the shahada on our lips. Ameen. But, I would like to hope that there would be people there trying to help me if I was ever going through that struggle, So again, it's just that self-awareness as an ummah, as an individual, that this life is long and hard, and we need to look out for each other better than what we are.
I agree with your points, and I wish the sister would reach out. But when you put your raw emotion out there, you're opening yourself up to be attacked. That's what you're doing. So you're not helping yourself. It's like not everybody is your friend. Not everybody is going to give you that support that you do need. That's reality. So when you make these kind of statements, what reaction are you expecting? I'm not going to say how reasons are not valid, or your feelings aren't valid. But first of all, in Islam, we don't make our emotions as our God, okay? Because Allah is God, yeah? He's the one that we worship, not our emotions. So we don't put our emotions over, what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says. That's the first thing. And as the Muslim community, yes, we have duty towards people, but the reality is not every Muslim is mature enough to fulfill their duties towards others, even in their own families. This is the reality. That's how people live. The Muslims aren't different from, regular people that you meet day to day on the street, because the reality is a lot of us are not implementing Islam properly. We don't understand Islam properly. That's the reality that we live in today. And it is very sad indeed.
I did a video, I think it was about a year ago, or maybe longer than that. Me and this friend I have here in Scotland, we were talking about messages that we would give to our past self, like sort of words of wisdom that we would say to ourselves at the beginning of our reversion and the middle of our reversion. And one of the common themes throughout that was putting Muslims on not just a pedestal, but making the expectations too high. Expecting too much from them. Like for me, for example, when I first reverted and I realised that the non-practicing Muslims who I was around for years didn't tell me about Islam, didn't give me dawah, I was raging with them. Like, I wouldn't be able to look them in the eye the same ever again. And I held a grudge for years. But it wasn't until after I surpassed a certain stage of my reversion that I realised that actually they are just people themselves who weren't given even themselves. That's why they were non-practicing, right? Because of one, choices they made, but also because of the lack of Islamic nurturing and upbringing that they were given, So like, it was also sort of an imperfected person looking at another, imperfected by Allah, but imperfect in terms of ourselves, and our choices, our being, etc., etc. So definitely, I think that was a sort of lesson that takes time to learn. But, you know, once I did, I felt so guilty and I felt so bad. And if I could go back and speak to them again, which I haven't had the opportunity, I would go back and sort of say, well, you know what, if you ever need me, if there's anything I can ever do, I'm there. Because that we need to recognise whether we think we are better or worse than others. Like, we are still an ummah that needs to look out for each other. And this is what's supposed to separate us from other communities, is that connection that we have with each other that's so much bigger than race, ethnicity, nationality. Gender's been a huge one right now in the current culture that we live in. All the other things that divide and separate is...
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, there's a YouTube channel called the Jenna Institute. And it's basically a female like scholar platform, so you have like lots of ustadas on there, so it's a female-led kind of thing where you get lots of different authentic knowledge from Muslim women. And I think that when you you know, for sisters like this who are looking for authentic knowledge that isn't feminist, you know, that's the ideal place for you to go to, because I think for some sisters they feel like everything's always coming from the men, so they want to hear something from women as well. Do you know what I mean? They want to hear from sisters. So I recommend that channel, inshallah. It's really, really highly beneficial, and there's plenty of lessons on there. So that to keep you busy from, you know, because you need something to replace the things that you are watching that are consuming your whole mind and your thoughts. You know?
We definitely have bigger fish to fry. Like just now, we're still seeing sisters from other countries cutting their hair because of certain situations going on in the world. And anybody who isn't a woman and isn't out cutting her hair at the moment is getting some sort of negative feedback online. I've had it in different platforms. I don't know if you have.
So that to me runs parallel with this whole Andrew Tate reaction, because it shows how you've been mistreated, therefore I'm going to leave the religion, I'm going to abandon Islam. Somebody's done something to me, I've been oppressed by this person, they have, you know, my society, my government is forcing me to do this, so then I'm going to take off my hijab, I'm going to cut my hair, I'm going to burn the hijab in the street because this happened and this was wrong, so I'm going to oppose it by doing something else that's even more wrong. Or just as wrong. Instead of protecting yourself and standing up against the wrong and saying this is not right, this is not Islam, this is not correct, you're going completely outside of Islam. So then you make Islam also look bad, because the people who have the negative perceptions about Islam, they then think that, oh, well, Islam, it is a misogynistic, it is this, it is that, it is X and Y and Z, because you, who seem to be in the right, have chosen to abandon it because of those people who were supposedly following it, but they were doing wrong, which everybody can see that it's clearly wrong because it goes against basic human morals.
Our connection with Allah is first and foremost. When it comes to our deen, this is the one time where we can be selfish. When it comes to our akhirah, this is the one time where we can be selfish. We should be willing to put ourselves first in that regard. But when we put ourselves first in that regard, then we'll be doing justice by everyone else. We'll be doing justice by everything else, inshallah, you know, by Allah as well.
Exactly.
So, you know, like this is...
It's the best self-care that you can do.
Genuinely relying on it, loving Allah and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam before anyone else. That is when we become content within ourselves and become, you know, justice or good people for everyone else, for the community that we have around us, our dependents and the people that we interact with, etc.
I just want to finish with, you know, I didn't, any of the statements that I've made was not here to offend anybody. I talk genuinely. I don't know, maybe I sound a bit rough around the edges sometimes, but that's just my nature. So don't take it like to heart if you feel that I'm not trying to be offensive in any way to anyone. What I say is genuinely out of love for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So
I think if there's any benefit that's came out of sort of this topic and this video in regards to me as an individual, is just recognizing that I might not be playing my part enough within the sister community, and I echo everything that Sister Summer just said. Anything I've said is not made to offend, and if there's anything that has offended anyone, come and talk to me about it. It is important that we hash these things out so that there's at the very least better understanding between us, because we are all connected, you know. But as an ummah, we're all connected. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.